Today's guest is the wonderful Ed Harrold. Ed has been on this podcast a number of times. Ed is a breathwork coach. He is a podcaster. He is also an author. He wrote the book Life with Breath. And we're very lucky to have Ed on here. He has got a wealth of knowledge. And I'm so excited to announce that Ed is also now part of our new breathing app known as the Breath Source. You can get started with the Breath Source app down below on Apple and Android. The link is there. And let's get stuck in with the podcast. Here is Ed.
So here we are. Now both of us are getting involved in a new project.
Yeah.
This project is called Breath Space.
Breath Space. Yeah.
What an amazing idea this is. Can you share a little bit about how you got involved with the Breath Space app?
Yeah. So first of all, it's really exciting because it's a place where people can go. And let's say you've been following me or you've been following Ed, and you're on, our lists and we work with you. We're actually going into this new community. You're going to get exposure to all different types of breathing modalities, and everyone's kind of been kind of vetted. So you've got really good, high quality breathwork instructors and teachers and yogis and masters there. I got involved, Ed, because I actually reached out to Dan Vadinay. Vadinay, he does breathwork beats, and kept seeing him pop up on my feed. I was like, I want to have a chat with this guy because he seems to be doing something similar to me, and I really like his style. And so we just had a Zoom meeting about 9 months ago, and we're just chatting like this. And he says, it's funny you reached out to me, Mike, because you were on my list to reach out to, because I've just started this app with these people and we wanted to come to you and have a chat with you. And I was like, that's weird because I had no idea. So we connected, and then I connected with the people that Josh and Travis, who CEO and COO of Breath Space, and I just fell in love, to be honest with you. I was like, these are good people. I'm sure, like you and many other breathwork instructors, I've been approached by different corporations, different apps, and nothing ever really felt right in the past. It was always very corporate, and I just found that these two were so open to ideas, super supportive, and what I really liked was they were all about us as a community. So I want to make sure that you're looked after, and then you're doing the right things so you can support all those people that follow you. So I don't know, I just fell in love with the app, with the idea of it, and then to get people like you as one of my colleagues now is super cool. So it's just going to be an exciting time. But what about yourself? What kind of drew you to considering joining them?
Well, I've always been looking to branch out into the digital world, and a lot, just like what you said, I never really found the right niche where I felt like really at home with the opportunity. And then I had the chance of speaking with Travis Steffens, who is kind of the mastermind behind the program. And I really found his take on the breathwork scene refreshing. I would call him a conscious capitalist. He's extremely concerned with getting great material out to his community, and he's all about community. Like, we're all in this together. We're all here to help each other. There's so many different expressions of breath that have been placed out into the public over the last thousands of years, and it really is so diverse. But it really all has the same thing in common, which is we're not going to be here on Earth forever. There's a limited amount of time that we have, and when we can begin to control our breath, we have the ability to take care of our heart, and we can take care of our heart. We can focus our mental world, and we can achieve our goals in less time. So, having that mindset moving forward, that it's really all about efficiency and moving away from distraction and distortion and anger and hate, and being more loving and open, and then sharing that with your family, your community, your friends, your coworkers, your athletic teammates. I was like, this sounds wonderful. So for myself, who's been in the game about 25 years now, I have a huge library of material, and I have hundreds of classes and online trainings, and it goes on forever. And I'm just going to move my whole library of trainings and classes and experiences, podcasts all over to Breath Space, and then build from there.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. And I mean, that is a resource, isn't it? You know, when you think about like what you get when you pay for these apps. And I don't know, there's some of those, I've played with some of those different breathing apps, and I always found them, some of them are good, but they always felt a bit sterile to me as well. You know, you might be doing like a breath bubble or something, which, you know, is great. But I like the idea of like when there's a person, we buy from people, we connect with people, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
And so I always like who do you vibe with, and like they're the people that you end up following. Like I always enjoy talking to you. I've always enjoyed our conversations.
Thank
And
you.
Michael Biker, I don't know if you've come across him yet. I love
Yeah.
talking to Michael. I've just had a podcast with him earlier today, and I was just like, I just resonate with him as well. So I like how you'll be able to go onto this app, and it's not a big sales pitch for the app. This is just you and me talking, but obviously it's a relevant time because it's coming out soon. But I just think it's really cool that you'll be able to go on the app through me or through you, but then you might discover somebody else, and then it just takes you down a completely different path. Maybe you never thought you were going to go down in the breath world or the breath space, because
Mm-hmm.
breath is, it's the great equalizer. I've been thinking about this a lot recently. It's like no matter what your political affiliations are or your religious beliefs, or your diet, we've all got to breathe, haven't we? And there's so many ways to kind of get your baseline right and calm down from stress. We all experience stress, and we all could do with being a bit calmer, I think, or to get the energy out there. So for me, breath is just that beautiful equalizer for all of us. And I think it's just going to be an exciting time as people get onto this breath space app. Hey guys, real quick, if you're enjoying this conversation so far, maybe you want to click on the link below and come and join us on the Breath Source. The link is down below. You can get started on Apple and Android. All the links are down there. Click one link, get started. You might notice that at some points in these conversations, I refer to it as the breath space. Ignore that. We were playing with different names last year. I'm so glad we landed on the Breath Source. So the Breath Source link is down below. I will see you on it. Back on with the conversation. Cheers.
I really like that word equalizer. You know, we're all remarkably average. No one is above or below any of us really in the inner world. And, you know, our perception of value, our perception of ourself, it can't help but to improve when we start to control our breath, when we start to slow it down. And what does that do to our perception that's going on in our brain? You know, when we speed it up, you know, what happens there, you know, in the body as it becomes stimulated? You know, there's so many different ways that we can experience ourselves. And behind all of it is the quality of our breath. It's the master key. It's a miracle that we have the opportunity as a species to control our breath. No animal on the planet has the ability to do what we can do. I think it's the master key to unlocking what's hidden inside each of us before it's too late. And in the time that we live in these days, where there's so much stress and anxiety and separation, you're on this side of the fence. You know, we're all inside this corral on this planet. And when we can all get back to the basics and let go of what separates us and come together as a tribe, as a community, and see that we're all in this together. No one can escape. We're all on this earth. Gravity has us down here. And we can put our sword down, and we can put our shield down, and maybe listen a little deeper to some of our difficult conversations without judging them as good or bad. Maybe it gives us the opportunity maybe to listen to someone who we've been in disagreement with, and a little bit longer before we judge it. And in that, there's a learning there. And that learning then goes out into our community, goes out into our kids, and we can leave the place maybe a little bit better than we found it with our kids. And I know that sounds a little maybe far out to folks who don't have a relationship with their breath, but folks who work on their breath on a regular basis are lifetime learners. You will learn new things every day. You will be curious about how you perceive things. You will be curious about your old perceptions. And in that curiosity, the old heavy part of ourself has a tendency to fall away.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I like the key analogy. I think I've used that before, and it's like, what does that unlock? That key unlocks a toolkit of different breathing exercises. Because I often think as well, who doesn't want to be calmer, or who doesn't want to have a more efficient breathing pattern? You know, who doesn't want to just reduce a bit of stress, or blow off some, I mean, that's a term I've heard a lot, blow off. You need to blow off some steam. Where does that come from? Probably from, you know, some breath work. Sometimes some of those big breaths are really good to get that kind of pent up energy out there. But yeah, I think it's such a gift. So why do we have that gift of conscious breathing? You know, you're right, we're the only animal that we know of that can control their breath. And yet, even with that knowledge, it only feels like now people are slowly starting to wake up to that, but they are waking up to that. You know, I was speaking to Patrick McEwen the other day, who wrote The Oxygen Advantage, and he said that in the last 4 years alone, his business has grown tenfold. I was like, whoa. And he's been in the breath industry, similar to you, 20, 25 years. And so he's just saying that, you know, it's the time seems to be now. And yoga is obviously a beautiful and amazing thing, but when you take breath work in isolation, what I like about that is you and I can sit at a desk right now and we can practice together some breathing exercises, and we don't necessarily need a yoga mat or any straps or any fancy equipment to put on our faces. We can just conspire together and do some breathing. And I think that's one of the things that's so attractive of it now. And because the science is catching up and people going, oh, there is proof that it calms you down, or it's I think it's the time of the breath now. I think the next 5 years is going to be spectacular for waking people up to breath. What do you think?
I totally agree. And, you know, the great part about the breath is that it works right away. Your first session, you will feel attracted to it on some level. I've never seen anybody go through a first breathing session with a coach and it was like, oh, that was terrible, I'm never coming back.
Yeah.
You know, it's, you know, we live in this, we were just speaking earlier about, you know, the anxiety and the rat race, you know, and I look at it like, if life's a race, it's a race you want to come in last. You know, slow your pace, slow your roll down, ladies and gentlemen. You know, you're only going to be in this body for so long and you want to keep it young and vibrant. And remember the basics. You know, life takes place one breath at a time. There's nobody on the planet taking 2 breaths at a time. Life takes place one thought at a time, not 2 thoughts. Just because you can think 2 thoughts at a time might not be the best way to be in the present moment, because then your brain starts to think it can have all these plates spinning around and nothing ever gets done. When we look at the science, I mean, just 30 years ago, the neuroscience was you couldn't change your brain. The brain that you were born with was going to be that way till you die. And now we know that the brain actually has the ability to change every second, neuroplastic, in regard to our perception, our thoughts, our values. We know that the heartbeat has little gaps in between each beat that are not equal. We have the heart rate variability science, which is amazing. 30 years ago, nitric oxide was toxic. You can't have that in your brain. And now we know that breathing through our nose, the brain secretes nitric oxide organically. So there's just so much coming to the surface that humanity can really grasp right now. And I think when people think about the breath, sometimes it's a little too far out there. It's too mystical or too magical. And that's part of it to some degree, because life is filled with magic. Let's face it. All the peaks and valleys, the lessons we've been through, the people we've met, the people we've left behind. There is a certain serendipitous kind of mental state to life when we can just relax. And when we focus on our breath, I think it's time well spent.
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree. And I was having a conversation earlier about the power of boredom. And this thing that boredom's almost this like a negative word these days, and people don't want to be bored. And so we're just, you know, on the phone and we, you know, how can I fill every second with something that's stimulating? And the same thing we were talking about was like big breathing exercises. And I love a good big breathing exercise. And that's where I cut my teeth with breath work. But I find like the more we can focus on the gentle stuff and the slow stuff, actually the harder it is, but the more rewarding it can be as well, you know, because for some people, and myself included, especially back in the day, to spend an hour by yourself just breathing would be, I can't do that. That's so difficult. But I can huff and puff for 15, 20 minutes because I get all these nice sensations. So I don't know. Again, I think there's something for everybody in breath work, no matter what you are, like an athlete, you've got asthma. There's a guy called the Breathing Diabetic, and he's doing a load of great stuff about diabetes and the way we breathe. You know, if you've got stress, depression, tummy issues, back, you know, we spoke about this before, back issues. I think you talked about some exercises for kidneys last time we were on here doing a live one. And so, although I know it's not a silver bullet and will heal everybody of everything. I get that. I do feel like most people would benefit from some form of breath work. I truly believe that in my heart.
Right back at you. I totally agree. And, you know, when we can be alone without being lonely or punish ourselves because we're not with the group or the clique, we can really start to make progress. And when we think about breath space, there's all sorts of master teachers on there. And, you know, when you're a younger person, you know, you want a more powerful practice. You know, you've got more vibrancy and you've got more energy. And then when you kind of reach your mid 30s, your mid 40s, you know, you're going to look to some of the more subtle practices, you know, some of the maybe the little slower stuff, you know, to kickstart that fire again. And then when you get into your 50s and 60s, there's a whole nother way to breathe. So every decade, there's almost another way for the breath to express itself to you, to keep you in balance, to keep you vibrant, to keep you focused on the carrot that you have in front of your goal. Because I know that everybody on earth, to some degree, you know, is a result-oriented person. We want results in our life, and we want to see these results quickly without losing the quality of our intention. So when you look at breath space and the various teachers, you know, of all ages that are on there, you're going to find the big energy practices. You're going to find some of the slower, more meditative practices, and you're going to find that space in between. So I'm confident folks are going to find something there that's going to be right in their wheelhouse.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's also quite exciting that there'll be you can book retreats through there. There'll be live classes. I've really fell in love with that live stuff recently, and nothing quite beats being in person. But you know, a close second is to do something live on Zoom. You know, it's better than it being recorded, and that's obviously a nice third. But just even like right now, you and I are on different parts of the planet, and yet we're almost having a real time conversation. And I forget sometimes how amazing technology has been over the last sort of 10 years, because this was unheard of, you know, sort of decade ago. Terrible Skype. So so I think I'll be doing some live classes. I'm sure you will be. There'll be people on there doing different bits and bobs. So yeah, it's going to be cool. It's going to be very, very cool to and me as a consumer of breath as well. I am genuinely looking forward just to going in, seeing what you're doing and what other people are doing, and being part of being a student in your classes and stuff. So it's a good time. I'll tell you what I really like. It's this thing around a white belt mentality. I don't always master it, if I'm honest with you, Ed. Sometimes I start to get a little bit cocky and I have to, you know, tell myself to calm down. But I always try and go in with that white belt mentality of just always be open to learning new stuff. Because the minute you think you know something, life's going to give you a bit of a slap round the face and say, do you? Because there's so much, isn't there? Where do you stand on the whole lifelong learning thing? I'm sure you're a good student of the breath.
You know, I try to remind myself when I get up in the morning, stay in beginner's mind.
Oh, that's nice.
Because the part of me that knows it all is the part of me that creates most of the depression, the suffering, the separation from my heart. So in beginner's mind, and I'm a beginner, I can do no wrong.
Yeah.
And as someone who's worked with the breath and thousands of clients over the last 25 years, I can truly say that the breath arena is huge. And it's so big, it really needs to be experienced. It's hard to really bring it into words. And when you're having a really great breath experience, there are no words to describe it. So experiencing breath space and with the various teachers, the way of just experiencing yourself and trying on different outfits and what feels just right, because what feels right is going to think optimally for us.
Yeah, no, that's nice. I like that. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It's going to be good times, man. So what else are you up to? What's going on in the life of Ed Harrold these days?
Well, you know, basically I've been filming a lot of fresh stuff for breath space, little 30-minute programs, and trying to add a theme to each program around the breathing exercise. You know, whether it be about a deeper understanding of athletics, or a deeper understanding of the emotional mood condition, or a deeper understanding of how the brain works unconsciously, subconsciously, consciously. So we're adding breath to just some things that will lead to a greater enhancement of whatever skill sets you've cultivated in your life. I'm also working on a 30-day cardio program where we're going to learn 8 different breathing techniques. and we're going to hybrid those into a 30-day cardio program. And each day you'll get a 10-minute video, and you'll learn a different breathing exercise. There'll be 30 different breathing exercises. And by the time you get to the end of the month, you'll be able to work out optimally in your cardio routine, always meeting your body where it is, not stealing energy from your body, but harnessing the energy from your body in a healthy way so that we can remove wear and tear injuries. We can take care of our heart rate. Our patterns of movement will be efficient. We can be in a flow state in the brain. And ideally, when we work out, we want to metabolize our fat stores as our primary fuel source. We don't want to store fat. We want to burn inflammation and improve circulation, oxygenation. So, athletics has been a big part of my life, and just putting together a 30-day program, it's exciting. I'm really happy to put that out to folks.
Yeah. Oh, exciting. Oh, I look forward to checking that out. That sounds awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice. Cool, man. I'm just thinking where we go with this now. So people can obviously check out the links below when this goes live. These will be released in sequence. So I think we'll have one with the CEOs first, and they've got a plan. So you'll be watching this or listening to this at some point. We'll put your links down below, Ed, so they can check out your website.
Thank you, Mike.
We'll put the links to Breath Space so people can, I think you can sign up for a free trial. Don't quote me on that. I think that's what's happening. Yeah, so it's an exciting time. I'm sure you and I will do some more of these. So maybe you and I need to do a live podcast again, because we always get good questions from the audience and stuff. So maybe we can book something in after Christmas, maybe, sir. Any other words for you? Anything we've not covered you wanted to cover off?
Well, I just know that it's a really exciting time for you. And a lot of folks don't know you personally, but you have a baby coming in the early winter. And that means there's another great human being coming to the planet that's going to have two great parents. And from everybody here in America, I want to say congratulations to you, Mike. I couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Cheers, man. Yeah, it's definitely, I've entered that second phase of my life now. I think I was telling you before, turned 40 this year, baby's on the way, job's about to finish. We're definitely entering a new phase of my life now. So it's gonna be very interesting to see what the next 40 years bring. But I do feel very lucky because I was never that happy in the corporate job. I had some good moments, wasn't all bad. But what I love about what I'm doing now, what you're doing, what everybody else is doing in the breath space is it feels like you're really helping other people. And that's what I never get out of bed sad when I'm doing a podcast like this or a breathing exercise. I'm always excited about it. And so I imagine that will stay like that when it becomes the full-time job. But I feel very blessed to have found this at this stage in my life, because it saved me. It really has. So, I don't know where I was going with the corporate career, but it was very, very much, drinking alcohol at the weekends to relax too much and all that sort of stuff. And so now I feel like I've been given that kind of gift of another chance at doing something. So yeah, exciting times ahead.
Good for you, man. And remember, sometimes nice guys finish first.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that, because in the corporate world, there's not a lot of nice people. They're very ruthless. And so you end up getting walked over a lot. So yeah, there is something there, isn't there? But it's more of a marathon than a sprint. I'm starting to believe that might be the case. Yeah.
That's what life is. And somehow we thought it was a sprint, not a marathon. And now our nervous system is fried. And the good news is we can repair it pretty much overnight with the work that we're going to do with Breath Space.
Beautiful, beautiful stuff. All right, my friend, it is a pleasure as always to have a chat with you.
Thank you, Mike.
And for those listening, thank you so much. Check out Ed's stuff, check out Breath Space, and I'm sure we'll be speaking again in the future.
Thank you, Mike.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ed. I hope you enjoyed that podcast episode. I need you to do just one thing for me. If you got any value from the episode, please click on the link in the show notes or down below in the video description and go on over to the Breath Source. Come and join me on the Breath Source app. Me and all these other wonderful breathwork instructors, you can get started for free today. We have put our life, our heart, our soul into this app. There's retreats in there you can go on. There's teacher training. There's every breathing exercise you can think of, all taught by their own breathwork instructors with their own flavors and modalities and training and experiences. Come for me and find Jesse or find Kat or find Travis or find one of these wonderful human beings in there and come and play with the breath with us. So the link is down below. I hope to see you on there. This podcast, the Breathcast, is also in there. Ed Harrold Life with Breath podcast is also in there as well. So we want to make a place for you where you can find our breathing exercises that are on YouTube, as well as new stuff, as well as live stuff, as well as new breath friends, a real community, a real hub for breathing. So I'm so excited about this. I cannot wait to see you in the app. The link is down below, and I will see you over on the breath source in 2 seconds. I'm going to hold my breath and I'm going to wait for you. Go, click on the link. Have you clicked it yet? Hurry up, please. See you on the breath source. Cheers.